Let me adjust my lighting. Check one, check two, check three. Grab my water. Uh, it looks as if YouTube has changed the vertical live stream format a little bit, guys. So if if I'm a little behind the ball here, I'm just catching up with the changes. Okay. Um, I'm gonna do things a little differently today. Uh, for all the incoming trolls, I'm not gonna respond to them. I'm just gonna ban them. Moderators, please do the same. Don't even worry about clapping back at them, roasting them. Don't time them out. Just simply ban them until YouTube does something about their troll situation. Then we're just gonna ban them. Unfortunately, YouTube has stopped allowing content creators to permanently block people from their accounts or IP address like we used to be able to do. So, the only thing we can do is just keep banning their usernames. So, if troublemakers come back, we just ban their usernames. But don't even waste time timing them out. This goes to other content creators too who follow me or maybe watching this on a replay. Just ban them. Don't worry about timing them out. Don't try to reason or roast them. I enjoy roasting trolls just because I like cracking jokes, but it wastes a lot of time. So I'm not going to do that anymore, at least not for right now. I'm not going to make it like a New Year's resolution, but I'm going to strive to like just avoid even approaching conversation with them. Like, you're not going to get any of my time unless you're dropping a super chat. To troll me, you're going to have to drop a super chat. Okay. Um, so that's what we're doing now. Uh, Miss, what's this say? MSLS 8314 says hi. What's up? Um, I might have to put on my glasses. So it looks like we're already having some trolls. My day was fine. Um, Sloshing around in the snow. People find it amazing that I'll still go out to run even in the blizzard, but I don't stop running whether rain, sleet, or snow, rain, sleet, hail, or snow, or heat. Chris says hi. What's up? So, guys, I've been doing a meta topic. When I say meta topic, I mean there's going to be a, uh, a umbrella sort of topic where I address subtopics underneath it. And I've done this. This is the third one I've done. The first one was on paranormal. The second one was on geopolitics. That didn't go too well, so I moved on to this third one, which I call correctly politically incorrect. Shout out to my friend and moderator Moonlit Fern, who gave me the idea. This is where I cover controversial topics, but I try to make it more factual based and not just about feelings nor political ideologies. I abhor political ideology on either side, which is why I'm politically apathetic. Um, so I know I have my biases, but I do try to make it more factual based. So the first two, so the first three I've covered under this meta topic called correctly politically incorrect. The first one was gender, and I tried to show how gender ideology is a bunch of bullshit. The second one was on race and intelligence, where well, just like with the gender one, I try to show that these things aren't just social constructs, that these are real biological phenomena. And then the third topic was on social constructs themselves, showing the how the concept is misused, to piggyback on the first two topics. So this one I'm shifting gears a little bit, and I'm going to talk about inner city crime. And this was I was partly given an idea about this from a friend earlier who posted something about the Baltimore mayor Brandon Scott, how he's getting kudos for saying that crime and homicides in Baltimore have dropped. And I was like, he gets no credit for that because he hasn't done anything to make that happen. If anything, he's made things worse. And the reason homicide has reduced in Baltimore is just because homicide across the nation has reduced. So I'm going to get into that and inner city crime in general. So shout out to my friend for giving me that idea. She didn't intentionally give me the idea, but once she and I were debating it in a private conversation, I decided this would fit within this meta topic of correctly politically incorrect. Uh, in this topic, correctly politically incorrect, I slay proverbial dragons here because, like I said, I don't fit neatly into anyone's ideology. So, Chris said I sub. Thank you, Matthew. What's up? He's still dropping biblical verses. Howard Clexus, let's roll in. So Howard, you saw my earlier YouTube short. So this is sort of like falling off of that from what I posted earlier about uh, the Baltimore mayor. So this is why I decided to kind of roll from that. Yeah. So to get into it, then I'm gonna get into some of the stuff I debated with my friend earlier. Uh, so the current mayor of Baltimore City is basically trying to pat himself on the back for the decline for a to be fair a a statistically significant decline in homicide in Baltimore. And to be more specific, he touts the fact that there have been um, less fatal shootings than in the past as of the new crime data coming out for 2024. The problem that I picked that apart though um, in my YouTube short, and I want to kind of like kind of tweak it here, is that saying, well, there's less fatal shootings doesn't mean that there's less overall crime. That just means that just means that less people has died as a result of shootings. That doesn't mean there's been less shootings themselves. Now, when I looked at some more of the data, there has been less non-fatal shootings as well. So I'll be fair and acknowledge there has also been less non-fatal shootings. However, the city itself neither feels safer nor is actually safer. Like my friends and I, almost all of us have licenses for concealed carry weapons or walk around with multiple EDC items, EDC tools. EDC meaning everyday carry weapons. Now, I think out of my immediate circle of friends, I'm probably the only one that doesn't have a concealed carry license. And the only reason that I don't is because I haven't been planning on living in Baltimore that long. Planned on moving abroad, um, but that's taken longer than I expected. Now, if I stay here much longer than I expect, then I probably will apply for that concealed carry. It's not the concealed carry, the uh, the going through the process is hard because as a veteran I can easily get it. Um, Without having to go through the training and all that sort of stuff, yada yada yada. It was the fact that I don't want to buy weapons and then I have to leave them behind when I move abroad because I can't take them with me. So I would have to sell them, which is not a a hard thing. I can. The good thing is you can, with weapons, you can sell them to a license, um, um, arm to licensed arm dealers in the state, and they'll sell your weapons for you. But they charge a commission fee for doing so. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna take a loss on that, it's not gonna be worth it unless I'm gonna be here longer than I expect to be. Now it's looking like I'm gonna be here longer than I expected to be, so I might get my concealed carry license, but I do take multiple everyday carry items with me. Let me introduce you guys to one everyday carry item that any and everyone can have on them. Okay, and then I'm gonna get back to the topic. So here's one that you can take with you anywhere, even into government buildings, even to airports, even to sports events. A pen, a tactical pen. Um, so many tactical pens come in different varieties. So as this you see, it has a glass breaker on it, which can be used to shatter glass in emergency if you have to get out of a tight spot. Usually, many of them will have like a beveled edge, and so you can use that to jab someone with it. And also, it's an actual pen, so you can actually it's a good idea just to have a pen on you. Like even though we sign most things digitally, if you still, some places you might still want to actually have a physical pen on you. And again, no one's going to really question you having a pen, so this is a good everyday carry item to have on you. People in law enforcement and military will tell you the same as well. Very good item. Also, a the other really good item to have on you, and I'm gonna get back to the topic, but I might as well educate you guys while I'm talking on this sort of stuff, right? I am uh, FYI, I'm also a self defense coach. um, a tactical flashlight. It has very high lumens. I'm not gonna flash this in your eyes, but this will like temporarily blind someone. And before someone says, well, yeah, what do you do for it in the daylight? Well, obviously you're not going to use a flashlight in the daylight, but having a flashlight on you is useful anyway. How many people have keychain flashlights, right? So they can find their keys in the dark, find a whole pause in the dark with their keys, or look for something in the darkness. So a flashlight, just like a pen, is just like an overall useful item to actually have on your person every day anyway. But at the same time, this gives out a very high lumens, which is just a fancy way of saying that it's very bright. It will temporarily blind someone if you flash it in their eyes, giving you a chance to get away or to counterattack. Also, this one doesn't, but many of them will come with a beveled edge, so you can use that to hit someone with it. This one doesn't have a beveled edge, but it's still reinforced so that I can still. So again, you can take these anywhere. The pen, the tactical flashlight. So you can't take a knife with you everywhere. You can't take a concealed carry firearm with you everywhere, but you can take a pen or a flashlight with you everywhere. So that's my self defense advice for today. Now back to the topic, and I'm not. Notice I'm not advocating for any sort of brand, so don't think this was like some sort of advertisement. Because if I was advertising, you would know. um, Steve Bannon says, "God bless California with golden showers." I wouldn't call it a golden shower, but I do want to get into that probably in a different live stream about the California fires. I'll just say briefly about that it shows the importance of having a bug out bag. Guys, this is my bug out bag. It doesn't look like a bug out bag, does it? That's the whole point. I don't want it to look like a bug out bag. If and when I have to bug out, I want it to blend in. which is the whole gray man concept. I rather be, you know, I rather blend in than look all tactical, with the all the camouflage and Molly webbing and stuff on. It's unnecessary. I mean, if you like that sort of stuff, that's cool. But if you truly want to bug out, you should probably be thinking about blending in, unless you already live in like a pretty rural sort of um, community. But if you live in like an urban or suburban community, like the majority of people do, it would make sense to have more of a blended in look. So that's why I have a bug out bag that looks like a sports backpack, but it's reinforced on the inside. So that's all I'll say about the California wildfires is the 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 biggest reason someone might have to bug out of their locations is usually a natural disaster. And the two biggest natural disasters that will force a person to bug out from their homes to seek another location are either fires or floods. California gets tons of those fires, and this is in LA. So we'll talk about that another day. Just Deuce says, how's it going tonight? I'm doing well. Just Deuce says some have a strobe effect as well, but I don't know if the strobe is useful or not. Yeah, so some of them have a strobing effect. The strobing effect is useful depending. I forgot how it's explained. I'm not sure. I don't think that one has a strobing effect. The one that I just ordered a few days ago, because I have another, because the one I just showed you guys is the one for my bug out bag. So I'm not going to use that to carry around with me. I ordered a separate one so I could have that on my everyday carry. Because so when it comes to a bug out bag, the stuff for your bug out bag should always stay in your bug out bag, so you have it when you need to bug out, and then you have a separate array of tools for your everyday carry. So you have your everyday carry stuff, and then you have your bug out stuff. And some people for their everyday carry, they might want to get like a sling bag, um, or EDC pouch to put those things in. Your discretion. Or you might just want to, have pants with big pockets you could put that stuff in, which is most of the time what I do. I just keep my stuff in my pockets. The strobe effect can be useful because you can use it to disorient someone. That's what the strobing effect can be used for. Howard Clark says, wife and I have a bug out bag. That's good, man. Do you both have separate bug out bags? My wife and I, we have one. If you, I don't know how long you've been watching me, Howard, but I did a whole video on my bug out bag. And then my wife watched it and she was like, that's cool. She was like, can I show them my bag? I was like, yeah. So she did. So we did a separate video and she showed everything in her bag. Hers wasn't originally a bug out bag. Hers was just a stuff from her. She likes to go hiking and backpacking. And I told her, well, baby, just throw in some tactical weapons and pretty much it's then a bug out bag because she has pretty much everything that I have, maybe some extra stuff as well. I just told her, hey, you just need like something for filtering. You just need like basically some stuff for filtering water and some weapons, and you're good. So, but if you want, go back into my if you want to go into my older catalog of live streams, and I have a whole video of me doing my bug out bag, the one I just showed you, and I have a separate video with my wife. She and I are talking, and she's showing off everything in her bag as well. But I think everyone should have a bug out bag. Like literally tells all Americans they should have some sort of bug out bag and preparedness. So like not only should people have a bug out bag, they should probably store like emergency food and water as well. Because another thing is, as much as we talk about bug out bags, often the case may be you might have to bug in, and you should anticipate having to bug in to your house for whatever reason, some sort of emergency situation where it will last 30 days. So not only should you have a bug out bag in case you need to leave a location like the LA wildfire, you might have to be in a location where you need to bug in to your location and stay bunked down for 30 days. So you want to have some emergency food, some emergency water, maybe a backup generator for the electricity. So Howard Clay says excuse me, he says Howard says prepping is important to me. Cool. He says separate women have special needs. True. Also, I have seen some people who are who are survivalists and preppers who will just keep an extra like tampon in their bag for their wife as well, just to be just to be prepared. Like, hey, baby, I got you. Like, So, but right, they do have special needs. And then I think the heavier items we should carry as well, like maybe like if you have like a shelter half, you keep the shelter half in your tent or whatever. I mean, in your bag. Sorry. Um, and then you might have two separate bags. You might have your bug out bag, and then you might have your vehicle bag. In your vehicle bag, you can keep some of your bigger items, including like assault weapons and stuff like that, inside your vehicle bug out. Ours my bug out has a firearm and extra ammo, but yeah, good stuff. I I, I don't have my firearms yet. I already know what I'm gonna like. I'm gonna keep it really basic for my bug out bag, and basically just get a what did I say? I was gonna get a um man. I'm sorry, I can't remember just a basic semi-automatic 9mm pistol. I forgot what I was gonna get. Basically not a Smith and Wesson. It'll come to me, but yeah, that's important to have have some sort of firearm, maybe a few extra clips loaded, and maybe some gun oil as well. Just to do says tampon could could be used to stop bleeding from a wound. They're not a bad idea to have one or two of. Exactly. So when it comes to bug out bags, you should always think multi-purpose. Like everything you have in there is gonna serve for more than one purpose. So like I have uh um lip balm in my bug out bag, but the lip balm isn't just useful for my lips. I can also use it as an incendiary material as well, right? So, or I can use it to to lubricate something. Pause. But I'm getting way off the topic, guys. Dennis says y'all got to get out of here to Nevada. No bug out required. Well, even in Nevada, like things can happen out there, bro. Like it's just good to be prepared. It's not a sort of paranoia. Like I think the prepper community got done a disservice from the Nat Geo channel's Doomsday Preppers show. By the way, I love that show, but some of those people were just fucking nuts. And then the other problem was they spent more time prepping than physical fitness. And as I've harped a lot on the fact that as a prepper or survivalist, you need to be physically fit. Like you're not going to survive an a a doomsday scenario when you're woefully out of shape. Like these, like a guys like 60 something years old, morbidly obese, thinking he's going to protect his homestead. Nah. Howard says you should bug out packing. He said I'm probably at 82nd Fort Bragg. My mind clicks this way. Hua. I say no more. All right, let me get back to my um to my soapbox here. So again, my issue was talking about inner city crime, and it came to me because of the chutzpah of this Baltimore City mayor bragging about the decline in non-fatal shootings, and it has nothing to do with what he's been doing as mayor of the city. It has everything to do with national crime, with crime going down nationally. This violent crime has gone down across the nation. It has nothing to do with his efforts in Baltimore. If anything, his efforts in Baltimore have made it worse because quality of while violent crimes have gone down, quality of life crimes have gone up. And it's those quality of life crimes that make the city feel less unsafe, right? Um, on top of that, a lot of violent crime guns goes unreported for obvious reasons. Um, but it's like public transportation isn't safe. Like just 3 weeks ago, someone was shot in the head on the Baltimore MTA. There's constant fights on Baltimore public transportation. Like if you ride public transportation, you better know how to fight or pack a weapon or both because it's unsafe. And the drivers aren't going to protect you. Most of them couldn't anyway. But even if they could, they're looking out for themselves. They're not putting their life on the line for some rando passenger. I don't blame them because I wouldn't either. I mean, I have family members who work for the Baltimore MTA, so I wouldn't want them to put their lives on the line for some random passenger either. Um, and then, like I said, walking around the city is bad. I've had people blame the Freddie Gray riots on the current problems in the city, but you're talking about something that happened 10 years ago. Those Freddie Gray riots did not alter the atmosphere of the city so much that the place is a shithole. Like Baltimore was so much better prior to the Freddie Gray riots. It wasn't. It was safer, but it wasn't. It, it would be it would be false causation to say that it was the Freddie Gray riots that have led to the current problems we're mired in this city with. Um, because part of the whole thing about the Freddie Gray riots was the thinking that all these people had robbed this pharmacy in the city and all these drugs are flooding the city. And I'm like, that was just one pharmacy. That one pharmacy put did not have a huge enough stash that it would still be like floating around the city 10 years from now. Like all the drugs that were stolen out of that pharmacy has already been has already been used probably within that first year. It's not 9 years later people are still selling and using those drugs from that one pharmacy from 10 years ago. Howard says, I'm lucky to live in Iowa. We are constitutional carry, no license for anything, but still background check to purchase. Yeah, I mean, I agree with background check to purchase. I also think, uh, like, like the old NRA wanted us to do. They like universal background checks and a psychological evaluation. The NRA only stopped preaching that idea because they had to compete with other um, gun rights advocates groups who were more zealous than them. So it radicalized the NRA. But back in like the 90s, early 2000s, when Charleston Heston was still the president, um, Moses was the president of NRA. They preach universal background checks and psychological evaluations. I think that makes sense. I said something way radical on my live stream 2 years, not a live stream, but on one of my videos 2 years ago. I said, no, forget. I said, no, I was like, forget background checks. And I said, forget psychological evaluations. I was like, just give them IQ tests. uh, but yeah, that's not going to happen. But it would really work. It sounds ludicrous, but intelligence tests, as I've mentioned in my previous stream on racist intelligence, well, I didn't mention this aspect, but intelligence tests can, well, not intelligence tests. I'm sorry. Um, General intelligence can positively correlate with a lot of other things that sometimes make up, aspects uh, of psychology. But sometimes these things are under researched. But again, I realize no one's going to give IQ tests to people applying for firearms for the same reason. They're not going to allow people, allow uh, companies to give IQ tests to employees because it would be seen as unconstitutional, although they will work for both cases. Howard says, I'm good with background checks. Doesn't seem to be an infringement to me and may keep from the crazies. Absolutely. Another thing is people don't realize, like, in the beginning of the country, the founding fathers made had some the restrictions they put on people for firearms was crazy. Like, you had to be a land owning Christian white male. That was one thing. That was one thing. That was a huge infringement. But then also, um, there was a revolt during George Washington's. I think it was during his first 4 years. I think it was in his first 4 years. There was a revolt, so he gave some crazy Two Amendment restrictions on folks for owning firearms. And so when people say, we got too many infringements on 2A rights, mm-mm. we the country has had worse 2A right infringements in the past. So I'll just say that the whiskey rebellion. That's it, exactly. So now I think restrictions after the whiskey rebellion was kind of pretty harsh, but again, you gotta look at it as a, I guess, within that time frame, like what was going on. Even though it was much less dangerous when they had muskets. At least you had a good startup run. While they sitting there pounding the musket, putting a little gunpowder in, taking a little charger, and he was like, "All right, fuck this, I'm out." But no, but in all seriousness, um, yeah, I think a universal background check and psychological evaluation would be pretty reasonable. That's what they do in the Philippines, by the way. Um, because people don't know there's some there's a huge there's a huge gun lover. Because people always say, "Oh, America's the only one that's crazy about guns." They love guns in other places. They love guns in the Philippines, but they control it. Then on top of that, anywhere like everywhere you go, they have armed security. Like people will be surprised who've never been over there if you'll go to like a mall and there's armed security at the entrance of every mall, like armed with shotguns, handguns, assault rifles. Now I've heard some people say that they're not actually that those firearms don't actually have rounds in them. I don't know whether that's true or not. I know I'm not going to test it. I know that much. But just to walk into any mall in the Philippines, there's armed security and they pat you down when you walk into a mall. On top of that, it's not just malls. Like there's certain stores you go to, like Starbucks. Even sometimes if you go to Jollibee, if it's like a one of the bigger franchises as opposed to like one of the smaller ones. If you go into one of the bigger, more traffic retail outlets or restaurants, there's gonna be armed security out there, and people are like it'll be like a culture shock to a lot of people to go to a Starbucks and see armed security right outside the Starbucks or outside of a Jollibee or McDonald's, but it happens. So that keeps people in check. But like I said, a lot of folks like people can own weapons in the Philippines, but you have to pass a background check and you have to have a psychological evaluation. And it makes sense. They go hand in hand because just because someone has a clean background don't mean they're not fucking nuts, right? And vice versa. Um, just because someone passes a psychological evaluation doesn't mean they don't have a bunch of previous things in their past that they've done, like assault and burglary and all sorts of bad things, right? Now, I know in some places in Europe, I think I don't know which country, one of the Scandinavian countries. I don't know if I'm talking about Finland or Denmark or the Netherlands. Some of those places will have a background check, and you have to go through gun training as well. Now, and I know that some people have advocated for firearm training here, whereas some people see it as an infringement. I don't. So I'm of two minds of that. I think so. hmm, I think you can if they made firearm training a requirement here, that would be a good thing. But don't make but make it free. That's where the compromise would be. I would say, okay, you can make firearm training a requirement for getting the firearm here, but it comes free with you purchasing the firearm. Like making it also like a an expensive fee on top of the fee for the concealed carry for just for a firearm permit. Um, and then in Maryland, well, they getting away with they're doing away with it, but you had to also apply for. Not only did you have to apply to um, for your concealed carry and do the background check and all that for your weapon and all that, but you also had to uh, have a have a permit to buy the weapon as well. And it's like, come on, man. It's like it was whack because only people who are already of a you know monetary who had the funds could do that, and it was usually in places outside of Baltimore City. Whereas the people who needed guns, the legal firearms, the most are within the city, and they're the ones most restricted from finding firearms legally. So these are the same folks who end up buying them illegally. And Baltimore is one of those cities that has a gun offender registry. Yes. So if you commit any crimes in the if, if you commit any crimes in the commission of having a firearm, you will go on a gun offender registry where, which means you will never get a job. So, and then the bad thing is the person may have just wanted the weapon for self defense, but found the price of getting a legal firearm just too exorbitant. Not to mention they may not had the ability to go all the way out to um, uh, I don't know, um, Howard County somewhere and do it. So, just to do says in Finland they have compulsory military service. A lot of places have compulsory military service. Just to do, Germany does when I was there. Israel does a bunch. We're the funny. Here's the thing: America is one of the only places that doesn't have compulsory military service in the Western world. Most places in the Western world do actually have compulsory military service, and it may be a choice. Like you either do 2 years of military or 2 years of volunteer work or something like that. We have our selective service draft, but we don't have actual compulsory military service. Um, I think we would have we would have less effeminate men in our society today if we had compulsory military service. But that's a topic for another day. Howard says, have you ever looked at the election rebellion in Athens, Tennessee in 1946? Check it out. I have. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. I don't think. He said I did winter training with Norwegians, intense stuff. I think it was. It might have. Yeah, it might have been the Norwegian folks who got the requirement that they have to have like firearm training if they want to own a gun. I think it was the Norwegians. I think I could be wrong. It was either Norwegians. I can't remember. I can't remember if it was the Norwegians, the Danes, or the Finns. It was one of those three Scandinavian countries. How is my wife freaked out in Baltimore driving to that bridge in the bay? So are you talking about the bridge that got knocked down, or are you talking about? Are you just talking about the Chesapeake Bay Bridge? Or But going back to Baltimore, so again, this this current mayor, Brandon Scott, wants to take credit for homicides dropping in Baltimore when he really can't because it's a national. What the recent decline in homicides is a national is a national something that's happened nationwide. I'm trying to say it has nothing to do with his policies. If anything, like I said, his policies have made it harder to reduce violence. The big bridge that goes and very high. That's the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Yeah. Um. So he has something he calls right now the government. What is it? Wait, what does he call it? The government violence reduction strategy or GV. Yeah, the GVRS or something like that. Government violence reduction strategy. And this was in response to him getting a lot of pushback because he's made it so that juvenile criminals are not locked up anymore. Like they don't want to lock up juvenile offenders. Like, and because of this, uh, young people are just going buck wild across the city, and it's not an exaggeration. They're carjacking people. There was a 9 year old out there carjacking with some older kids. A 9 year old. At 9 years old, I was still playing with Transformers and yo carjacking at 9. And so one of the problems is they don't want to put kids in the juvenile detention centers because the juvenile detention centers have had a lot of issues dealing with sex abuse by the correctional officers on the minors there, um, as well as some corruption. And it's like, well, that means fix the detention centers. Don't stop locking these little bastards up. Uh, what's up, Moonlit? He says Thailand and Korea does too. Also, buying firearms off the street is very risky. You never know if it has bodies on it, and it's really easy to get on in Chicago for dirt cheap. Inner city crimes extreme. That and now you can with the ghost guns, a lot of people are doing that in the city right now. They're purchasing the ghost guns where you just buy the little different pieces and you assemble it, and they can't trace those. Howard says they had us at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. He said enjoy some great blue crabs there though. Is why I went to Baltimore. We're staying at a few days at Gettysburg to see the battlefield. Baltimore was close enough for lunch. Yeah, I remember when we were in school, we did a we get the field trips. So if being excuse me being in Baltimore, we got to do a field trip to Gettysburg um, when we were kids. That was fun. I mean, I love little nerdy stuff like that, like historical type stuff. So any excuse to take a field trip for like history or science was one of the best days ever in school. Either that or the days where you didn't have to do anything. They would just the teacher would just bring in like a movie, like an old Disney movie or film strip for us to watch for the whole day. But anyway, yeah, Baltimore is known for our crabs, which ironically I don't eat. I hate seafood, but I would say I would argue the Maryland crabs are the best. So yeah. Uh, Mullen says we call the South Side and West Chirac. I've heard of it. He says it's literally 10-year olds shooting each other. Uh, he said, oh, every other street in the 100 block. It's a mess. Even most police don't go there, which is why crimes and gangs are rampant. Yeah. Just Dude says history was my favorite subject. Also, Howard says, "Yep, history is my passion." Yeah, I was up. That was almost one of that almost was my college major. So I think every ninth, I think every freshman has probably changed their major at least several times before they settled down on something. Unless before they went into college, they already knew what they wanted to be, and I didn't. So, uh, yeah, but history was going to be one of my majors until I decided this isn't very exciting. But in any case, um, yeah, Baltimore, Chicago, and Detroit are like damn near like demilitarized zones. And I got into a debate earlier with a friend of mine, and she was saying, "Well, look at the history of what brought on this violence and all that sort of stuff." So this is what I'm going to get into because I'm tired of black people and liberals trying to pass the buck. Look, at the end of the day, I don't care what the history of why there's so much violence in the city is. I should be able to go home, go to school, and go to work without worrying that I'm not going to make it back home at the end of the night. And Chris Rock addressed this long time ago in his when in his stand up special called "Bring the Pain," um, which shot him into the national spotlight to be the one of the best comedians ever when he did the stand up special. And he was like, people, he is like he says a civil war between black people and niggas gotta go. And he was like, people always like, man, why you gotta be like that, man? Why you gotta be like that, man? It's not us. It's the media. It's the media. The media portrays us like that. He is like, cut the shit. He's like, he said, when I'm going to the ATM 1 o'clock in the morning, I ain't worried. I'm not worried about Ted Koppel. Ted Koppel has never robbed me at gunpoint, but niggas have. And that's completely true. Even here, I don't even live within the inner city. I live in the suburbs. And I long time ago I was robbed at gunpoint, minding my own fucking business. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning, coming from a girl's house. I saw these guys coming up, and I saw them approaching me, but I thought they were just gonna ask me something. I'm thinking, this is in a nice area. I'm not gonna say where exactly, but we're in a nice suburb. I'm thinking I'm not about to get robbed. It seems sketchy, but I ignored my better instincts because I'm thinking, oh, I'm in a nice place, quote unquote. Then the girl later told me she said people have been, that there were stick up kids around her area. I was like, why in the fuck did you not tell me that? Because I wouldn't have never came at that time of night. And so, and Mullen says not just race, all races in Chicago do the same. So I'm gonna get into that too, because this is another thing me and my friend debated. Howard Clegg says the blacks in Chicago be super pissed at their mayor Johnson. Oh yeah, that's a whole different subject. So I'm wondering if I should bring in the whole immigrant issue within the inner city. That might be a topic for another day. But so and I told my friend that she pushed back um to what I was telling her. I was like, this is a particular problem within the black and to some degree indigenous groups because they have cultures that glorify violence. Mullen says Florida's loaded with guns. I never feared getting shot growing up. I've been robbed twice in Chicago, both by whites. So I was robbed by two niggas, but again, I can say it anyway. Um, so yeah, getting back to what I was saying. So I was telling her, and she was like, "Well, that's not true. All cultures, blah blah blah." I was like, "Nah, that's not true." I was like, I kept it all, I kept it real. Was I said Asians, Indian, Mediterranean people don't have that issue. And I was like, on top of that, I've traveled across the globe and I've been to places way more impoverished than Baltimore. So try me again with it being poor people or systemic racism and this and that. I was like, we live in a culture that glorifies criminality and undermines academic ambition. Like, and I was like, you can read Thomas Sowell on this sort of stuff. Like, only only within black and lower class white communities do people get teased and beat up for having academic ambitions. And so Thomas Sowell even said that the reason black communities are toxic is because they are basically an extension of redneck culture from the South. Like he was saying, like basically so-called thug culture of the inner city is just black rednecks. He traced the history saying, you know, these people who this sounds racially offensive, but this was an actual term back then. The crackers that came from the British Isles, places in parts of Ireland, Scotland, and part of England, migrated to the American South and brought their rockers behavior with them, and they were ridiculed by other folks in America at the time for being degenerates. And so they referred to those degenerates as crackers and rednecks. And the black people who lived amongst them adopted the same culture that they brought with them from the British Isles. And whereas some of those Southern whites ended up rejecting that sort of behavior, this carried on amongst a lot of the black people who lived amongst them, and they brought it with them to their communities wherever they went. Because most, being that most black Americans started from the antebellum South, these are foundational black Americans who brought their their values and behaviors with them to other places across the country. The whole so-called thug culture is really redneck culture, black redneck culture. And like I said, it's degenerate, but it's not so much a racial thing, it's a cultural thing. And because again, Thomas Sowell pointed out the fact that when a lot of these World War II black veterans of World War II were stationed, overseas and had children with these European ladies, like in Germany and stuff, but they came back to America, like the children raised in America and the children raised in Germany had two different life outcomes. And the reason being it wasn't because of race. Is because the ones in Germany didn't grow up in the black community where they had a culture that glorified violence, hip hop music, and degeneracy, whereas the American kids did. So, um, I was making this case to my friend, and I said, even even if it was just a matter of a history of systemic oppression and all this sorts of stuff, I was like, none of that's going to matter to you if someone assaults you or someone assaults your daughter. And she was like, well, yeah, but I don't want my daughter to go anywhere by herself. I'm like, you're missing the point. I said, you know exactly what I'm saying. I was like, you don't want your daughter walking through streets of Baltimore like Emerson Village, Cherry Hill, Park Heights, Poplar Grove, you know, stuff like that. Most of you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyone who's been to Baltimore know what who's from Baltimore know those areas. But um, you would basically you wouldn't want your kid walking through Baltimore City. Yes, I get it. She's a girl. You probably wouldn't want her walking anywhere by herself. That's not the point. The point is you know that she would be safer in some places than others, and Baltimore is not one of those places. I can go somewhere. I can go into the slums in Metro Manila, where it's much more impoverished than here in Baltimore, and still completely much safer. Even though I would be a target because I'm a foreigner. Um, One says, yeah. uh, wait, Just Dude says, look at all the movies that have been made that glorify gang culture. Well, not just the movies. The movies is one. The media, like entertainment, is one thing. I'm talking about the culture itself, where you got to be tough. Stop acting like a little punk. You know, toughen up. Like a culture of hyper masculinity. So if people have ever watched my previous live streams where I talk about the problem with the overuse of the term toxic masculinity, it's because it has nothing to do with the original concept. This is the original concept, hyper masculinity, which happens to involve younger males who come out of fatherless communities who reject the the behavior of their mothers and sisters and aunties and put on this exaggerated machismo, which is hyper masculinity, and it's perpetuated through gang culture and like gang culture, excessive violence, and bravado. And where do we see those that happen? In the ghetto, in American ghettos, um, on Indian reservations sometimes, in the old Wild West, in prisons, and in wars and in war zones, because all these places are places where there's not much immediate law enforcement, and basically there arises a culture, excuse me, an honor culture. An honor culture is just a euphemism for a culture of violence. They call it an honor culture because everyone has to show honor to each other, to every other male, so as not to piss him off that they feel like they're being dissed somehow. Because any sort of any sort of impression that they're being, um, you know, disrespected or dissed can erupt in sudden violence. So honor cultures are a culture of violence, and this breeds hypermasculinity. Hypermasculinity is the root. So there's is one of the causal factors in inner city crime. Hypermasculinity. It's not the sole cause, but it's one of them. But to say, but to try to blame, but but it's just passing the buck when you try to blame inner city crime on either poverty, which again, like I said, you go in other parts of the world, there are cities way more way more impoverished than Baltimore or Chicago or Detroit, yet it's much less violent. And you go, and if you try to blame systemic racism, like where's the show me the systemic racism that leads to them acting that way? Because for it to be because the fact of the matter is most of these people in the ghetto aren't interacting with with the with the dominant ethnic group anyway. The dominant ethnic group doesn't want to live amongst people in the ghetto. so so the whole try to linking systemic racism to this violence is a dubious one. So, and I'm not denying there isn't any systemic racism. I'm just saying show me how that actually links to this inner city violence, because it's a dubious causal chain. Mona says, yeah, even Manila has dangerous parts. Bangkok, not too much, but it's around. If you look, Pattaya is the worst. Yep. Just to say, yeah, I listen to him sometimes. I've seen that video where he compares rednecks to thugs. It's not that he, yeah, you're right, but it's not that he's comparing rednecks to thugs. He's comparing thugs to rednecks, really, because he's saying thug culture is basically redneck culture. Like he was saying that the these low class folks who from the British Isles who migrated to America, you know, they kind of all like uh, kind of went to the deep south, and and these folks were referred to as crackers. and I'm not, again, I'm not trying to use that as a racial slur. This is literally what Thomas Sowell was saying. Like this was the term for these folks. Like they refer to these folks as crackers because most people think crackers is something they're talking about like white crackers. That's not what it actually means, like saltine crackers or anything. But anyway, so they refer to these folks coming out of the lower class communities of the British Isles as crackers, and they settled in the antebellum South, and because of because of their erratic behavior and the violence of their culture or redneck culture, like they were rejected by the upper class Southerners as well as people in the North. And the black people who grew up amongst them, whether they were slaves or freedmen or whatever, um, they they took on their culture, and where some of those Southern white folks abandoned that degenerate behavior, a lot of these black people kind of uh, kept it going in their own communities. And this is the roots of thug culture. Like when we think of thug culture, we're really actually just thinking of redneck culture. It's just redneck culture amongst black people because it's literally when you see the descriptions of how they describe these white Southerners at the time. This if you change the words, you would literally think they're talking about black people from the '90s or the 2000s. Like it would read almost the exact same way. So thug culture is literally just black redneck culture. That's all it is. Thomas Sowell did his work, his research on that one. Mona says I was raised a redneck life. I got called cracker and redneck as a Native American. LOL. Still never robbed anyone, and we welcome all people in our home and fed them good too. So yeah. So I mean, I've been around Southern white people. Like one of my bosses when I was in college, he referred to himself as a redneck, and he saw it as a source of pride. But it is I think there's two different uses of redneck culture. Like some people refer to use redneck as a term for just white Southern culture. I mean, if people just want to call white Southern culture redneck culture, I don't have a problem with it as long as they call themselves that. I wouldn't I wouldn't call them that because I don't want to offend anyone. So if if they refer to all American South, well, white people out the American South, if they all want to refer to their culture as redneck, that's fine. But I think he meant it more specifically amongst a subsect of uh, white Southerners who perpetuate a certain degenerate behavior that was actually like rejected by more upper class white Southerners, as well as people up in as well as white people in the North and in the territories. Like they all kind of abhorred how these people acted. And like I said, the way they wrote about it at the time, it would sound like they would have been writing about the way people would be talking about someone from Baltimore, New Jersey, or Detroit or Chicago today. Like the way he was like these so and so's are doing this and doing that. Like it's funny when he pulled up that literature. I'm like, yeah, that literally sounds like you would be talking about like someone today, out of like South Central LA or New Orleans, something. Um, Howard says we should be praising people like George Washington Carver, who were great and much to be praised about, same as Thomas Sowell and Clarence Thomas. America has much to offer, and we should be thankful. Yeah, and I think we owe both. Well, when I say we, I'm talking about Black Americans. I think Black Americans owe both Thomas Sowell and Clarence Thomas an apology for how they treated them back in the '90s and the 2000s. We realized they actually had their best intentions for us, but a lot of Black Americans, like myself, because I was a bleeding heart progressive when I was younger, and I've talked about that a number of times. But I was your typical, left wing progressive latte sipping. Well, I still sip lattes. I'm not giving that up. But you know, I was your stereotypical left wing college student, even college grad student, and which got me so much, which enamored me with so many friends in the military. Not, but they just put up with me despite that. But um, Black Americans owe Thomas Sowell and Clarence Thomas an apology, but that can be a subject for another day. Mullen says, I'm here, just give me 20 minutes and I'll let Ellie type, can't bring my phone in the x-ray room, but it should be out. Also see Lumen lately. I've been getting worried. No, remember I brought that up to Moonlit? Like I brought that up a few weeks ago. I said I haven't seen Officer Lumen the day since he asked what's her name if he could hook up with her sister. That is literally the last time I've heard of him. No, 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 that's not the last. He That was the last time I seen him on a live stream, and then I saw him leave a comment on one of my YouTube shorts like a week later. That was the last time I've heard of him. I don't know if maybe he could have changed his username. Like he might be still floating about. Maybe he changed his username. I'm not sure, but I haven't heard from him since you heard from him. Like I said, the last live stream he was on was when he was talking with you know, with what's her name? Damn, I can't forget my moderators' names. I'm sorry. If she comes on here, please don't be mad at me for forgetting your username on here. Um, but anyway, uh, that was the last time I heard from him. And then, like I said, he was still, a week later, I saw him leave a comment on one of my YouTube shorts. But that's still been like 3 months ago, four, almost 4 months ago now. So yeah, I hope he's all right. If he's working in law enforcement, he may not have time to do whatever. And tell Ellie I said, what's up? Melissa says hi, like, share, and subscribe, and super chat. And it says, how are you, Mrs. Contrarian? Hope you both had a happy new year. We're doing all right. She's dealing with some strep throat right now, so she hasn't really been talking that much. Just went to the hospital, get some antibiotics. Her little sister is always getting everyone sick. Because it was funny too, because I was like, was it? I don't want to say her sister's name. I was like, was it so and so? No, I said, is it wrong that I think it's the your youngest sister who got everyone sick? And she started laughing. She's like, no, you're not wrong, because she's like, it was, and that's what we all think. I was like, oh, never mind. Moon says, did Moon tell you that Thai women here get looked down on or even treated like lower class simply for having darker skin tone? They try to dye their skin and worship K-pop girls. Oh, I know. I know that from being in Thailand. It's actually worse in the Philippines. Like, there's a lot of skin bleaching in Thailand, but it's worse in the Philippines. Like, you can literally, like, almost every like hygiene item you can find with like some sort of skin bleaching agent. Um, I think there's even a coffee that promises to bleach your skin. Um, they use that glutathione or whatever you call that stuff. Um, there was a Philippine senator whose wife used to get skin bleaching treatments in his office because you can just get the injections or you can take the pills. And I think she was doing the injections. So I think Thailand is like number two to the Philippines. Philippines is like the worst when it comes to the obsession with skin bleaching. But yeah, I'm really well acquainted of it, and I know that the stigma across Southeast Asia for darker skin, because darker skin is associated with lower classes people, it because of the history of, why am I mansplaining like to you, but the history the history of people associating darker skin with working out in the rice fields and stuff like that. I know it's crappy. They have that in the they have that all that stigma in the Philippines too. And this is why when people from like Southeast Asia, like Thailand and the Philippines, go to places like in China, in South Korea and places like that. They look down upon them. So yeah, I'm well acquainted. The irony is when Southeast Asians come to America, they're more desired than the East Asian women from Korea, from South Korea, Japan, and China. Even amongst Asian men, the Asian men prefer the Southeast Asian girls in America, and they call them ABGs or Asian baby girls. It used to refer to Asian baby gangsters. So because in the 90s, um, there was a lot of these Southeast Asian guys, usually from refugee countries like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, or the people called the Hmong from those different regions of Southeast Asia and China, who ended up, getting into like some little gangster lifestyles, and their girlfriends that hung out with them were called ABGs or Asian baby gangsters. So then it just became an sort of a term for like any little Southeast Asian girl in America who had a little bit of swag to her. So these are like the most desirable Asian women in America are the girls with the Asian girls with browner skin. And like I said, it's not just amongst like American men, like white men and black men, but amongst Asian men themselves. Asian men desire them. Like they find them the most desirable. So they Thai girls with oh, I know 555 means ha ha ha. I know. I've talked to enough Thai girls. But yeah, if you so Ellie, if you came here, right, you would be in demand. Like they would be like, who is this? Like I'm telling you, like as Moonlit. Like if you look at adult entertainment in America, where they have where sort of a fetishization of Asian women, most of those adult models tend to be Southeast Asian women because here they're more desired than the Chinese girls, the Korean girls, and the Japanese girls. But it's the reverse in East Asia where everyone wants a girl that looks like a K-pop idol, and the whole K-pop thing is a that's a huge fetish in the Philippines too. Like the whole um, fetishization of everything Korean, Korea boos. Do they call it Korea boo in Thailand too? For people obsessed with everything Korean culture, Korea boos. But there's a bunch of Korea boos in the Philippines. Like they all idolize the K-pop girls. They all want the boys to look like they're a bunch of pixies and elves. And let me get back to some of these comments really quick. It just uses there's two different meanings to redneck. Redneck can be used positively for like hardworking farm boy, or can describe what Thomas Sowell is talking about exactly. Melissa says, hi, and she was saying, "Hi, it's Ellie talking. I'll tell him what Lumen about Lumen when he gets back." Oh, I thought that was okay. Thanks. Yeah, my he was one of my moderators, and he's gone missing. He's a New York police officer, and when he used to talk to us, he used to always tell us about like crazy cases he was handling in the city. So Moonlit and I were always worried that something could happen while he's like, working. So we're both hoping that nothing bad happened to Lumen, that maybe he just got too busy. Maybe he got too busy. Maybe he no longer likes my channel. Or, maybe he got a girl keeping him busy. Any of these sorts of things. But I'm going to assume that he's not, nothing bad happened to him. Howard says, never heard of skin bleaching. Oh, my friend, man, let Moonlit's girl tell you about it. Yes, it's a huge phenomenon in Southeast Asia, Howard. So, okay, so let me explain this to everyone who's not acquainted with East Asian and Southeast Asian culture. Okay, so there is an obsession with creamy white skin in East Asia, because it identifies someone. It is a marker of beauty for them. One reason is because it's a marker of also social status. meaning that someone of a creamy white skin didn't have to toil outside in the rice fields in the rice paddies or whatever, and instead enjoy creamy white skin. Um, and but the thing is, most people in Southeast Asia generally have a browner skin than people from the north in places like Japan, Korea, and China. At least northern China. Southern China, the people are darker too. So a lot of these people in southern China and Southeast Asia bleach their skin to make it look more creamy white, and they have it's usually like glutathione, um, and so they can ingest. There's pills they can take, or they can do just injections, which might be like weekly or monthly injections, whatever they can afford. There's even uh, like lotions they might put on their skin, and you'll notice it because a lot of them will have lighter faces, and then like the rest of their body is brown. So that's how you know they're bleaching, because they'll typically be just like their face, and the rest of their body is browner. So imagine my face Michael Jackson esque, but the rest of me still being the same complexion. um, but yeah, it is a bit of a obsession throughout East Asia, particularly in Southeast Asia, and the Philippines is the most obsessive about it. I remember I went to go get a go do a massage, and I was asking them about the skin treatments, and she was like, "Do you want to get the bleaching?" I'm like, "No, why would I want to do that?" She was like, "Why not?" I was like, "Because I like my complexion." I was like, "We have a," I said, "Black people have a saying back in America." I was like, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice." And the Filipina, she just laughed. She's like, "Oh, ha ha ha." So yeah, they are extremely obsessed about bleaching in Southeast Asia, and the Philippines is the worst offender of it of all of them. Uh, Ellie says the boys here look feminine, and the girls all try um, all try the surgeries and skin bleaching. Never heard Korea boo. I think only America said boo. I learned it from him. Well, no, so that term is in the Philippines. Just because you have people who say like um, because there's another term like Korea boo. Like there's the people who obsess over anime, and they're called so the people who obsess over anime are called weeaboos. So in the Philippines, people who are obsessed with like Korean culture are called Koreaboos. Melissa says Contrarian is right. They look at it as like South Korean skin and surgery as the best. It's a social status image. Um, uh, they think that they are cleaner and pure. It's all over Southeast Asia. I feel it's silly. I think so, because you're destroying your skin long term. Howard says, "Yeah, all right, he did learn something new." Yeah. So when you were a paratrooper, I guess you got never stationed out there, because you would have saw it like I don't know when you were active duty, but before they closed all the military installations, because you had the naval base, you had the American naval base in Subic Bay, then you had the Air Force base in Papanga, um, then there was a few other ones, but we have with the with the joint forces agreement with the Philippines, the new president Bong Bong Marcos has pledged to reopen those the military bases. So because the previous president Rodrigo Duterte had a falling out with Obama, because Obama's a bitch. But yeah, so Obama was criticizing Duterte on about his war on drugs, while hypocritically having a secret drone war in the Middle East. in places like Yemen and the Sudan and Afghanistan and Syria, but whatever. He's going to have a secret drone war in the Middle East, but then criticize Rodrigo Duterte for wanting to clean up the Philippines because of their drug problem there, particularly with meth and stuff like that. Um, and because he called him out on human rights abuses, Duterte said F Obama and basically reneged on the Joint Forces Agreement with America, where they were going to establish five new military installations. So with the new president in office, he said he's now going to work with America to open up those new military installations, and they might reopen those two old installations, the naval base in Subic Bay, which is connected to a. Here's the thing: anywhere there was American military installation is connected to a notorious red light district. So you have the Subic Bay red light district in the north of the Philippines, and you have the Air Force Base in Pampanga. I forgot the name of that Air Force Base. Like right close to Angeles City. So, um, just do says I better go to bed. It was good talking to you. All right, bro. Take care. Water CS Ghost says I'm still going at it. Ellie says say it again. She said I'm going to roast Moon because he loves manga and anime. Yeah, weeaboo. No, so not okay. All right, Ellie. Let me before you roast it. Let me be clear. So not every anime fan is a weeaboo. So I'm an anime fan, but I'm not a weeaboo. Weeaboos are like the worst type of anime fan. Like all the worst things you've heard of an anime fan is what we refer to as weeaboos. Like they're the folks who just watch, like they're like kind of socially awkward. They probably watch a bunch of hentai. Hentai is anime porn. And the worst kind is the tentacle porn, but let's not get into that. But they like I'm telling you, Ellie, this is serious. Like I'll go like when you go to anime conventions here in America, they actually give out, like a lot of these conventions give out pamphlets about, you know, what to expect at the convention. And in these convention pamphlets, they are telling these people, here's a reminder, please wash yourself every day coming to the conventions so you do not stink. And I'm serious. Like anime fans tend to the the anime fan base tends to um, attract a lot of incels. I don't know if Moonlit told you what an incel is. These are people who are self-described folks who don't have sex, like can't get can't attract women. They're mostly males, although there's a such thing as called femcells. But I'm just going to talk about the men. The incel stands for involuntary celibate. They are people who say they can't attract the other sex, and as such, they can't get into any amorous activities with people of the opposite sex. And they kind of just live their lives in these little online communities where they bash women and they bash men who are attractive. And a lot of them are tend to be anime fans for some reason. A lot of these incels tend to be weeaboos. Like they're very socially awkward people. Many of them have poor hygiene. They probably watch anime and read manga and play video games all day long. They they dress like they dress like one of these weird characters from an anime. Moonlit could tell you more about it, but we refer to them as weeaboos. These are like anime fans to the extreme. And like I said, some not all, but some weeaboos are incels. Uh, Moonlit says good night, just a dude. Howard says active 76 through 84. Oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't even born then. Well, I was born in the late 70s when you were active duty. He said did the remain in duty full time Army National Guard, 86 to 2015, retired with 39 years. Oh, you're okay. You're a chief warrant officer. Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. Cool. I'm not sure where you live currently. You know, the DC National Guard is looking for prior service folks. Um, I think you may be over the age. They were saying any. They were basically saying anyone under the age of 60 whose prior service they wanted for the DC National Guard, and if you were either in the Marines or in the Army, you don't have to go through any sort of retraining. So I've been strongly considering it. The only reason I haven't thought of doing it was because I didn't think I was going to stay here in the U.S. this long. I was like thinking I was probably going to be moving abroad by now, which I still may be. So I didn't want to, I didn't want to consign to any years of National Guard service and then end up um, moving because I don't want to, I'm not gonna go AWOL. Just so we'll see. But yeah, DC National Guard has been looking for prior service folks for anyone under 60 who's still healthy, regardless of your branch. But if you are Army or Marines, you do not have to go through training, through any sort of retraining. Moon says hi. That's what Moon says. Incels are. Yep. Water CS:GO says you're definitely incel, bro. I'm married. You can ask Moonlit's wife, who I'm talking to right now. She's seen my wife. I've had my wife on this live stream. Not this live. I've had her on several live streams. If you continue to troll, I'm gonna ban you. I've let you stay on here in good faith, and I'm not in my 50s. You don't do math well. If I was born in my late 70s, how would I be in my 50s? You don't do math very well, do you? The math isn't mathing for you. Numbers aren't your friends. Uh, Moon says, yeah, we avoid them at MBK. They are tweens, and yeah, they smell. Moon doesn't watch. Yeah, he's obsessed with Attack on Titan, Bleach, One Piece, etc. Yeah, I'm starting to catch up on. I didn't know it was so many seasons of Bleach. Well, I'm not sure if you watch it, but I didn't know so many seasons of Bleach. So, because I only watched it on Netflix, and it was only 3 seasons on there. But now I realize it's 8 seasons, and then there's like 2 more seasons that, or whatever, that continue the whole series. So I think it's like 11 seasons altogether. Something I don't know. It's ridiculous. So I'll try to catch up on. I doubt I ever catch up with all of that. I saw all of Attack on Titan because that was like my favorite anime for a while until it ended a year ago. But yeah, the fact he doesn't watch anime porn is good because it's weird. Like I think everyone has seen it once or twice, but the people who would just watch that all the time, not good. And they call it hentai because hentai in Japan literally just means pervert. Like hentai in Japan means pervert. So to say hentai anime means literally means pervert anime. How is Oh yeah, you did say Iowa. That's right. I'm sorry. I have a friend there who she's actually in the Naval Reserves. Melissa says, no. He's like, got my phone back. Don't give Ellie ammo. She watches One Piece too in the live series too. The live series was actually surprisingly good. I thought they were gonna mess it up. Melissa Ellie says your wife is beautiful and y'all make a cute couple. Thank you. Appreciate it, Ellie. I mean, tell her thank you for me. I'm sorry. Um, Water says 75 plus 50 years is 2025. I wasn't, you're not listening. I wasn't born in 75. You literally missed where the guy said he served from 76 to 84. And I said, yeah, I wasn't born when you first enlisted. All right. So I'm just going to ban you because you're annoying. Melissa, yeah, Bleach is crazy long though. Through the grind episodes, Kenpachi is the real G. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna ever catch it with Bleach. It just looks like too much. Plus, from the stuff I've watched, I'm like, how much can this go on? Like, how much can they really stretch it? You see, I tried to give that troll the benefit of the doubt, but he just kept trolling, like, you know. And it's like he's obviously mathematically retarded. Like, if I say I was born in the late '70s, how do you pull I'm in my '50s? Especially when I just said, hey, I wasn't born when this guy went into the service at 76, which means there's only 3 years left in the '70s, '77, '78, and '79. Like, not very bright, but I don't expect most Gen Z to be that bright. I think most of them are borderline retarded. I mean, they literally do have a lower IQ than every previous generation before them. Oh, Melissa, she can hear you. I got you on speaker. What's up, Ellie? Let me stop using bad language since you can hear me. I try not to cuss around women. Melissa, yeah, dang, I was born in '82. Oh, then Howard said, after his initial term of service, he went on through the Army National Guard all the way up until 2015 and retired with 39 years. Did Howard? Did they give you the full? Did they give you the full retirement for 39 years? Like, because I think you only need because you need 25 years. And then I've heard they reduced it to 20, but some people said if you do 20, they don't give you the full, they just give you partial. I'm not sure how that works because I think it depends because some people they were pushing out at 20 instead of letting them do the full 25. But if you did 39, I'm pretty sure you're getting like full retirement. Um, it must be getting late because we getting a lot of trolls. Oh yeah, it is. Um, One says I heard Ellie doesn't know how to use mod. Otherwise, she'd have snap. This is what she just said. We both Scorpios. Yeah, she people are out of pocket. Like I said, I'm not gonna even. I said today I'm not gonna even roast people Moonlit. I'm just gonna just ban them because like yesterday, I think it was yesterday or what's today? Wednesday. It was either yesterday or Monday. I was roasting people, and I took so long roasting people. I realized I spent 30 minutes of my time just roasting people before I even got into the topic. So I don't want to do that anymore. Oh, my says, what's up, dude? What's going on there? We might get some snow in Atlanta over the weekend. Well, welcome to the club. We've been hit with a blizzard for the past 3 days. We had our first nor'easter, as they call them here, and I still ran. I don't let the snow stop me. One guy was looking at me when I was running in the snow. He was like, "I love your dedication." I'm like, "Thanks." It's not a big thing to me. Like running in the snow. First of all, running in the snow is fun. So I don't. You will only not like it if you just don't like running. Because otherwise, running in the snow is fun because it's snow. Like they say about having snow bunnies. If it ain't snowing, I ain't going. But Moonlit, I made one up for Asian girls now. Since everyone who loves snow bunnies say if it ain't snowing, I ain't going. We got one for Asian girls now. If she ain't Asian if she ain't Asian, it ain't amazing. That's my new one. If she ain't Asian, it ain't amazing. Moon says Ellie cuss like a sailor more than me, bro. Don't worry. No, I just don't like cussing around women. That's just I'm old school like that. I don't like to cuss around women. Like I'll say shit or something, or like even if I do cuss, even with my wife, I'll be like, pardon my language. I'm just old school like that. Melissa says, "Hi, Omar. Send some snow my way." Melissa says she understands. She absorbed my accent and slang after 18 years. It's been 18 years. Dang, y'all been together that long? Quintavious, what's up, bro? He said, "Do you ever have your wife on live?" Yeah, I've had her on 3 times. I've had her on 4 times already. 4 times. It would have been more, but 3 months ago I was having a problem with my vertical lives where I couldn't bring on any guests. Because I tried to bring her on twice and it wouldn't work. Like people could only only the audio was coming in, the video feed wasn't working, and I'm not sure if it was the live stream or if it was a or if there maybe was some firewall up, but in the Philippines that was blocking it because I tried to bring on a Filipino guest and she couldn't. Her video feed wouldn't work either. She's been on my live as well before, but I wanted to bring her back so that if I receive because I told her like her or any other guest that if I bring a guest on any if I bring on any Filipina girls as my guests, any sort of donations I receive, I will give to them for being on my live streams. So you can see those. But I've had my wife on quite a few. We've done a video where she discussed her backpack, which I told her to convert into a bug out bag. Um, I brought her on when I first got monetized several months ago. That was like my special. That was like a surprise live stream that I did. Like she came on when I was monetized, so I introduced her to everyone. Um, then I brought her on again, and then she was just recently on last week. So yeah, she comes on. The thing is, I'm not going to use her to come on too many like all the time, just because I don't want to use her as a gimmick. But probably when we start doing some travel videos together, you're going to see more of her. And also, I have videos of her up when she's traveling. Like I have a video of her climbing the highest mountain in the Philippines, Mount Apo, and because she climbed Mount Apo, she's now a certified mountaineer. So I put that video up. I put a video up of her with her travel group. With them, they travel around different parts of the Philippines doing philanthropy. So I've put those up. Uh, I also put up a video of her. I threw her a surprise birthday party last summer. She didn't know that I threw her a party, so I orchestrated it with her younger sister, and we threw her a Jollibee surprise party. So bunch of stuff up if people want to see that that I have an actual wife. She does exist. Melissa's back on topic. I think heavy snow reduces most city crime. So yeah, so that goes into there was a such thing called the heat theory of crime. It's been debunked, but there was in criminology called the heat theory of crime, which posited that as the temperature went up, it drove more people to commit more crime due, I guess, due to being easily irritable because of the temperature. Um, but when they look more into the data, it's not really that. I think the reason why you might see more crime when it's hot outside is not because of the heat itself, but because usually the seasons in which it's hotter is usually when there's more people out anyway. Um, like for kids, like in the summertime, this is why there was so much juvenile crime going on in the last summer, not because it was hot, but because they were out of school, and because of that, the mayor, who again is a freaking idiot, Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore City, he instituted a curfew in Baltimore City. The problem is, again, he doesn't want to lock these kids up for doing crime. So there was no teeth to the curfew. Like if they broke curfew, nothing was going to happen to them. Like they weren't getting locked up. Like nothing. Like there was no. So these kids were all around the harbor, all around Fells Point, just being adjutants amongst the people coming down like to Fells Point, because the Fells Point is like one of the biggest gathering places for people in the city. It's downtown Baltimore. So all the bars are, people have fun, but you had all these little young people gathering out there, um, you know, being just fucking hood boogers, like fucking with people, um, you know, getting into fights, shoot, robbing, stealing, getting into stuff with, getting into altercations with the restaurant owners. So it wasn't. So the heat theory of crime has been debunked because, like I said, there is a positive correlation between the heat going up and crime, but it's not a cause. It's not a causative factor. It's more along the lines that the seasons where it gets hotter is usually when there's people who tend to be out more than in the winter where more people are in school and stuff like that. So, and when it's less daylight. So uh almost says, yeah, but Georgia freaks out when it snows. They don't like, they don't use salt trucks and everything, like where I'm from, Chicago. Yeah, I've heard. I remember when there was like snow in Atlanta, it was like a little thin layer and they just went bananas. This was like 20, what was like 26 years ago, something like that. Meanwhile, the people in the Northeast remember the blizzard of 96. ask 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 any Gen X or millennial about the blizzard of 96 in the Northeast. Emily said, "Yo, oh, he said, oh, ain't Asian, ain't amazing. I'm stealing that. Yeah, please use it. Let's make it go viral. Just like, just like I coined the term rice bunny, and now that's all over the place. We can coin that too. If it ain't amazing, excuse me, if it ain't Asian, it ain't amazing." He said, "Love it." Yeah, yeah, 18 years, October 28th. Well, congratulations to you guys. Like my wife and I have still been, just over 7 years, and it doesn't even seem like it's been that long. But when you got a good woman, it doesn't feel that long. Pause. um, I just reconnected. Sorry. Hopefully you guys are still there. My Wi-Fi just did a little flip. Omar says you should check out this guy named Art Bell. He was a broadcaster. He had a wife from the Philippines, but they both died a few years ago. He was a really cool guy. Art Bell. I haven't heard. Um, I think wondering if I heard of him. Sounds similar to someone else. Melissa says, I think that's a YouTube thing. It happens when I bring anyone in and they are Western or Middle Eastern countries. No, but the thing was, I wasn't having any problems bringing her on at first, and then it just happened like 4 months ago. I couldn't bring anyone on, but like I didn't try anyone else outside of the Philippines because I should have. I remember that one day I was asking anyone if they want to come on live that they can, and I gave out the link because I wanted to bring someone on live so I could test whether it was a firewall in the Philippines or whether it was it was my live it was my YouTube channel itself that was messing up, and I never got to figure it out. But she's able to come back live again because she just did it last week. We did a surprise like live stream together. No. Quintavious says I'll definitely have to check out more of your channel. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Uh, Omar says I want to go to the Philippines and meet some of them women over there. Yeah, man. And so I tell people if it's your first time going there, I recommend Metro Manila because Metro Manila is probably the most Americanized part of the Philippines. So you don't need to know how to speak Tagalog. Like everyone in Metro Manila can speak English. Okay. You can use, your credit and debit cards in a lot of places. Well, not the outside store, the outside markets or whatever, but like any sort of retail store or mall, they all will use your credit cards and debit cards. Just make sure. Well, make sure that they take your bank, because they don't take all banks there. So they don't take well, they don't take all foreigner banks there if you need to go to an ATM. So make sure you go to an ATM that takes your bank. Because at the time I was banking with USAA and Navy Federal. Now I bank with uh, Charles Schwab, which is better than both of them. So, um, but and just like with USAA, Charles Schwab doesn't charge ATM fees and will reimburse me for any ATM fees when I use an outside bank, including anywhere in the world. So if I get hit with a ATM fee for using a ATM in the Philippines, I'll get reimbursed. So, but if it's your first time, I recommend Metro Manila. First of all, because a lot of people say, "Oh, go to Angela City first because it's a big red light district, all the women." Look, all if you're going, not that I recommend it, but if you are going to the Philippines for debauchery, any debauchery you can get in Angela City, you can get in Metro Manila. In fact, most people don't realize this. The 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 red light districts in Malate and Ermita, which are parts of the city of Manila, have existed before the one in Angela City. The one in Angela City came up as a result of catering to the American Air Force Base that used to be in Papanga, and so that closed down. But then the red light district still grew, and it has a huge walking street where a lot of the action happens, and it's comparable to the one in Pattaya, Thailand. Pattaya, Thailand is the largest red light district in the world, and the one in Angeles City in the Philippines is the second largest. But if it's your first time going to the Philippines, I wouldn't recommend going there because, for one, it's a lot more things to do than just the debauchery, and two, a lot of people who come to the Philippines for the first time, if their first stop is Angela City, there's a lot of love scams that happen there. Like, you're very likely to get love scammed if you go to Angela City. So I don't recommend it. And third, there are red light districts within Metro Manila. So Metro Manila isn't a city; it is a megapolis, sort of like sort of like the Northeast. Like, from Boston to DC is like one big megapolis. Metro Manila is sort of one megapolis, but it's also the capital of the country. And within Metro Manila, there's actually 16 different cities and one municipality. And one of those cities is the city of Manila, sort of like Tokyo. The Tokyo Metro is actually is a bunch of cities to make up the Tokyo Metro. But anyway, getting back to the Philippines. Um, and so within Metro Manila, there's like five different red light districts just in Metro Manila alone. So you don't have to go all the way to Angela City. The other problem with Angela City is there's nothing else to do out there. Like, Angela City, outside of the pay for play action, there's nothing else to do there. Whereas in Metro Manila, there's like 1,000 things to do. The only thing you can't do in Metro Manila is go to the beach. There is a beach because there's Manila Bay, but it's very dirty, so you don't want to go to that beach. The only people you'll see playing out on the beaches of Manila Bay are street kids. They tried to revitalize the Manila Bay like 4 years ago, where they came in and dumped a whole bunch of white artificial sand. But those people still aren't going out into that water. That water is dirty. Like, you might want to go maybe visit the revitalized portion of Manila Bay where they brought out all the artificial white sand. It is nice, but the rest of Manila Bay is like a slum, and you won't see anyone playing in that dirty water other than street kids. So, but besides that, there's like 1,000 different things to do in Manila besides red light red light slumming. But if you do want to do red light slumming, there's five different places in Metro Manila. One in Ermita, uh, one in Malate, one in two in Makati, like one like, and then there's another one on the Edsa Boulevard. But anyway, let me stop telling people where red light districts are. But first time goers to the Philippines, I recommend going to Metro Manila. Then after you've gotten a taste for the Philippines, then I would say go to other places like um, Boracay, which is a really nice resort area, Boracay, or go to Siargao, which is in the Mindanao part of the Philippines. Siargao is a really nice island in the southern part of the Philippines, and it's safe, very safe. It's actually a place where a lot of surfers go for people who like to surf. Um, but I would say if you've never been to the Philippines before, I would say your first stop should be Metro Manila. Get acclimated to the country first through the friendly people of Metro Manila, and then once you do that, then I would say go explore other regions of the country because there's literally thousands of islands to make up the Philippine archipelago. Not all of them are inhabited, but there's still thousands of islands, several thousands of islands, in fact, and plenty of places to visit. And like I said, most of the Philippines is friendly, except for Mindanao, where there's places where there's still where the people are still in open rebellion against the national government. So this is why there's a travel advisory against Americans going to the Mindanao region, the Philippines, because part of that place is in open rebellion, and those rebels have allied themselves with Al Qaeda and ISIS, then they will kidnap and kill foreigners. So anyway, moving on. Um, Moon says, "Yeah, Art Bell is a great host now. It's the other guys who's doing good, but he's no Art Bell." Almost a year, and I heard that when there's a full moon, it makes me feel more crazy, and that's why they call some people lunatics. Yeah, it's an old wives' tale that comes from long time ago, sort of astrological beliefs that the moon can affect one's behavior. The moon affects the tides because of tidal forces. The sun has some tidal forces on the Earth as well, but because the moon is closer, they have a stronger tidal force. I mean, it has a stronger tidal force overall, but outside of tidal forces and the interaction of the Earth Moon as a as one planetary system that revolves around the sun, it has no effect on our mental behavior. Besides that, as Neil deGrasse Tyson has pointed out, with why the whole idea of werewolves is stupid, is that um, there's a full moon everywhere. There's always a full moon somewhere on the Earth. Just because right where we happen to be, there isn't a full moon is pretty subjective. Like you could go into. So it's weird because it's like, okay, so he's not a werewolf here in Maryland, but if he goes over one time zone over into central time zone where there's a full moon, now he is a werewolf. It's completely absurd. And then it's like, what if he doesn't notice that there's a full moon, so he won't turn like it? Yeah, full moons and lunacy are an old idea that doesn't have any merit to them when it comes to um, the etiology and science of mental illness. Amon says, Omar, they are beautiful and very caring as well. Stay on their good side and you will have the best relationship ever. Don't cross any Asians out here, though. Yeah, man, don't do that. Plus, in the Philippines, you better not because there are laws now to protect the women from uh, foreigners. So just like I said, there's a lot of love scams that goes on in Angeles City. The national government has put in certain laws that protect Filipino women from tourists who try to take sexual advantage of them. Also, people should be forewarned not to mess with Filipinas who are married because it is a felony there. And you will get locked up if the husband decides to press charges. He'll have both the wife and the the philanderer, in jail, cleaning my glasses here. Agatha, what's up? I was mentioning you earlier, and I couldn't remember. I'm sorry, you're gonna be mad at me, and I couldn't remember your name, and I was like, oh, she gonna be mad at me if she see I couldn't remember her name, because we were mentioning Lumen, and I said we literally haven't seen Officer Lumen on the live streams ever since he asked you about your sister, and I said the last time I saw him, it was like a week after that live stream where he asked you about your sister. He left a comment on one of my YouTube shorts, and that's the last time I've heard of him. And I was like, either I don't think anything bad happened to him. I'm assuming either he stopped watching, he changed his username, or he just had other things to do since he's a cop. So um, well, hold on, I missed a few messages here. Oh, this guy's okay. So this guy was using my I had no idea he was trolling the whole time. Moonlit. Thank you for catching that. Since I couldn't even see the avatar. I didn't realize he was trolling me with my own picture. Did anyone else see that the whole time? I wish someone else told me he was trolling me with my own picture. Now that I'm wearing my glasses, I'm looking up closer at. I'm like, oh, okay, he's trolling me with my own picture. No one else caught that. Anyway, Melissa's also Omar here. They love full moons every month and celebrate it. Omar said, yeah, when it's hot, everybody's outside. In the winter, there's less crime, I would say. Yeah, that's why I said that kind of defeats the whole heat theory of crime. Melissa's on the heat factor thing, I agree, but they experiment in jails and prisons by letting it get hot, and people riot or fight, and when it's cold, they just complain and become docile. That's true, but again, that it doesn't confirm the heat theory of crime. What it shows is that people who are more it just shows that when people are more aggressive, they're more likely to become violent. That's that, and you have, but look at it like the jail is an artificial environment. Like it's not like people on the street. Like you have people who are already stressed out in a situation in which they don't want to be, and then on top of that, you make it physically uncomfortable for them, and they have nowhere to go. It's not like people at home where they can turn on air conditioning. They can go to the mall. They can, they can go to a pool or beach. They When you're in prison, you can't do any of those things. So you're basically in a confined space. That's not really the same thing because, like I said, it's too many other variables to tease apart. Omar says Art Bell talked about all kinds of different things. He talked about paranormal. He talked about ghosts. He talked about past life, future travel. He talked about anything you can imagine. Carlos says, "What's up, bro?" I'm about to get back to my original topic because paranormal. I was talking about. So the meta topic is called correctly politically incorrect, and the particular subtopic today is inner city crime. Um, Moon says coast to coast radio. Yeah, I haven't heard it in a long time because someone asked me, did I want to be a guest speaker on there once? I was like, sure, because they know I'm a skeptic of of the paranormal. But I was like, I don't think I'm up to the. I was like, I don't know if I'm qualified to challenge some of these people, but I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I never ended up going there. I should have. This is when I used to work at the library. I should have asked the guy to bring me on as a guest speaker because I would have loved doing it. But he says that station is all about the paranormal, cryptozoology, aliens, hidden governments, etc. He said that's what made Art Bell famous. He said one of the first people to interview that guy, they claimed he was at Area 51, which I mean, it's not a big deal anymore because everyone knows Area 51 is just like a Air Force base where they do experimental aircraft. I mean, it's nothing about it because, like I said, you had all those people 5 years ago. Remember saying they were gonna do a Naruto race to Area 51, and all these people online were like, "Yeah, we're gonna do the Naruto race to Area 51." And some people actually did go, but it was only like what 20, like a couple of dozen people that actually showed up out of all these thousands of people, all these hundreds of thousands of people that talked all this shit on Facebook talking about, yeah, we're gonna do the Naruto race. We're gonna find out what's going on in Area 51. First of all, you don't look like a huge dweeb running like Naruto because that's not how people who run actually run. So there was that, and then it's like the fact like they weren't really, most of those people were just talking shit like from behind the screen. They weren't, like, to their credit, like a few dozen people actually did show up. I think maybe as many as 100, but it was nowhere near the thousands upon thousands of people who were online back in 2020 saying they were gonna race, do a Naruto run to the Area 51. Omar says, how much is $1 equal to the Philippine currency? You have to check it. It changes every day. Just Google US dollar to Philippine peso. But it's currently probably what, like, I don't know. It's probably about 50, roughly about 50 Philippine pesos to $1, roughly. It goes up and down. Pause. uh, it's a Metro Manila. Is that correct? Yeah. Mula says about 59 pesos or whatever it's called. Ellie says one US dollar. Omar says, do they have like music clubs and stuff like that? Yeah, they have clubs. Any of the younger women will take you there. Like, you be like, hey, I want to hit the club. They'll take you. There's like clubs all over Makati, BGC. BGC stands for Bonifacio Global City. It's actually a region this disputed between three different cities within Metro Manila: Taguig, uh, I think Taguig, Pasig, and Makita. But most of it is in Taguig, but it's called BGC. That's one of like the most. BGC is like going to like, it's like going to like probably like Midtown Manhattan. Uh, Melissa says here in Thailand it's like 32 baht, and like Contrarian just said, don't get love scam. That girl or boy you mess with has nine other men and women. They milk for money, saying they family buffalo died. No, I haven't heard that one. They always say, "Oh, my father is in a hospital," or "My baby needs milk." I'll laugh every time I've heard that. I'm like, what? I was like, "What, your titties don't work?" No, sir, they cannot take the breast milk. They need formula. I'm like, since when? Like, that's literally what you evolved to do. You have mammary glands. That's why they call us mammals, because you have mammary glands. You feed your babies with the fluids of your mammary glands. I was like, once you don't longer do that, we're no longer mammals. Like, but they will all try to tell you that their kids can't use formula. And it's not that kids can't use formula. A lot of them have, all the ones who say that have been miseducated, and they think that they they mistakenly think formula is actually better than breast milk. So they'll try to tell foreigners, "Oh, I need to buy formula for my baby." I'm like, "You better make them titties work." They're like, "Oh no, the they cannot use that. The formula is better." Mulan says, Omar, yes, a million clubs and rather a club than a red light area because you meet someone and don't pay for anything. Yeah, because you can go to clubs and actually meet girls who actually like you instead of working girls in red light districts. And these tend to be younger chicks, usually like college age or in their, mid to late 20s, some in their 30s, but you wouldn't even, honestly, you wouldn't be able to tell the ones from the 30s from the ones in their 20s. Melissa, say stuff, stay self aware and clean. Yeah. Is able to go for experience, culture, food, stay away from tourist areas and meet locals. I say if any country. Oh, and by the way, what's up, Agatha? Like, I mentioned you earlier, but I was saying I had forgot your name when I was in reference to talking about Officer Lumen earlier. Moon says our moon affects our tides, not our brains. That pagan beliefs from way back. Omar says, well, if the wife is married, she should not be talking to somebody. Again, I just addressed that. In the Philippines, adultery is illegal and a felony. You will get locked up. There's a show, there's a docu series on that Geo channel called Locked Up Abroad, and there's a whole episode about a guy being locked up in the Philippines for adultery because here's the thing: there's no divorce in the Philippines. Divorce is illegal in the Philippines. So the guy met a woman who was separated from her husband, but he didn't know that even if someone is legally separated in their country, they can't get divorced, and hence her dating anyone will still be considered adultery if the husband decides to press charges, which he did when he found out she was dating a foreigner because he thought he has money. So don't do it. There's plenty of single women in the Philippines. You don't need to mess with a married woman. The only thing they can receive are annulments. And you can receive annulments for two reasons. One, you can receive annulment either if the marriage wasn't legitimate because the person was already prior married, because bigamy is illegal there too, or you can declare annulment as sort of like a divorce if you want to completely sever the relationship with someone, which is basically just a glorified divorce, but it's very hard to do there. Like, not a lot of people put in for annulments, and the courts often will not acknowledge those applications for annulment. And even if they do, it takes about 2 years for it to for the process to happen. So my advice is not to date a married Filipino woman because it's adultery and it's a felony. If you do it there and someone brings it, files a report, you will get locked up. Don't want to be in a Philippine jail. There's no three hots in the cot like in America. Agassi, yes, so true, and she was here for the holidays. Yeah. One says Omar, communication respect is all that's needed. Moon says his username shenanigan. I mean, Quantavious, whoever gave him away. Yeah, that wasn't the part that bothered me. The part that bothered me is that everyone saw his avatar and no one like told me that this guy was using my face as his avatar on here because I would have banned him outright. And like I'm getting tired of the fact that on YouTube you can't permanently block anyone from their IP address anymore like you used to. Because I when I looked it up, they were saying that YouTube finds that too aggressive now because it may be an overreaction. I'm like, better overreaction than an underreaction because there's too many people doing shady shit. And this is exactly why Miss Needle took me to task one day and told me, be careful about me oversharing information on here. And she was exactly right because she was seeing an uptick in trolling and in really like toxic stuff going on like this fool doing this stuff. So, and the reason why there's an uptick in trolling and toxic behavior is because you can no longer permanent block people's accounts or IP addresses like you used to be able to do. they need to reinstitute that. You should Content creators should not be worried about being, terrorized by randos online who aren't even contributing to the live stream. So this is why I said, to all my mods are there, don't even time them out. Just anyone that asks for food, just ban their username off the rip, because it's just too much. It's been too much of a increase in abuse against content creators now, since YouTube has decided to not let us permanently block their accounts, which they should allow us to do. Melissa says I didn't see the avatar, I only saw the name after that douche. Melissa says I'm good, Agatha. Got an X-ray, then my surgeon dipped out, so I have to go again next week. They're milking me for money because I'm a fraud. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Um, Hopefully it all goes well though. He says I hope you're doing good too, Agatha. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe you might have to change that doctor for doing that to you." Omar says, "So what is it that you want to know about inter inner city crime?" You said intercity, inner city crime. Not so much what I want to know is basically, like I said, since the meta top is called being correctly politically incorrect, it's the fact that we're gonna put out information that people don't find nice, but it's more factual. And like I said, the fact of the matter is the cause of inner city crime isn't systemic racism, is not poverty. Those may have some causative effects, but there's no single bullet to to crime in America. Crime, like many complex social issues in America, are multifactorial, have a multifactorial causation. Yes, part of it is poverty. Yes, part of it may be racial oppression, but part of it also is a culture that glorifies degenerate behavior. We can't divorce we can't ignore that just because it makes the black community sound bad. We have a culture that glorifies degenerate behavior, and we live in a time where people don't like taking personal accountability for their behavior. You combine these things, not to mention some of the you know economic stresses currently since the pandemic, and you're going to have a problem. um, but like, there's no single causation, and again, it's not hip hop music that causes, because you know Thomas Sowell did hint on thinking it was that too, and that's wrong too. Listening to hip hop music doesn't alone cause that, because obviously when we see affluent white kids listening to hip hop, they don't become degenerates. You don't become degenerate just by listening to the music. It's from living in the culture that breeds that music, that breeds that music, which is the problem. So, um, Mullen says it's all good news. Agatha, I held quick, but yeah, Contrarian would be amazing on Coast to Coast. You should still maybe try calling it in. They would love that. I think George Knapp runs it. Um, he said Naruto run. Yeah, you remember that back in 2020, right before the pandemic, there was this huge movement online that they said they were gonna. People said we want to know what's really going on in Area 51, and all these little anime dweebs was like, yeah, we're gonna do a Naruto run on Area 51, and I was like, this is gonna be funny as shit. I was like, these motherfuckers are gonna get shot, and so this happened. But then the pandemic happened, and people still went, but it was only like, I'm gonna say anywhere from a few dozen to maybe about 100 people actually showed up, and you didn't hear much about it. But at the time, it was this was a real thing. Like at the time, like there was like government officials saying, "Be known that you cannot trespass on government government property. You will be apprehended." And all these people online were like, "Fuck that. We going. We gonna find out what's going on in the Area 51." Like this was a real thing, guys. I don't cap on stuff like this. I don't make stuff up like this because it's too funny to make up. Like look it up. Look up the 2020 Naruto run about all these dweebs talking about they were gonna storm Area 51 and find out what's really going on with the aliens. Oh, that was funny. And I was like, man, these motherfuckers are gonna get shot. That was my exact sentiments when I first heard that 5 years ago. I was like, these motherfuckers are gonna get shot. One says, hope you're doing good too. Uh, Alex says maybe you should check. Oh yeah, we went over that. Duh, duh, duh. Moon says those are the words you taught Ellie. I taught her incel and weeaboo. I told her that not all anime fans are weeaboos though. I told her weeaboos are an extreme base of the anime fan base. These are people who don't bathe every day. They do nothing but watch anime and hentai and read manga and play video games. And they're the ones who go to conventions and they have to be reminded to wash themselves because they create con stench. Like that's an actual word, guys. Con stench for people who show up to conventions who don't bathe. They call it con stench. Um, Agnes says I'm good. We'll be going to UK Tuesday. We'll be in and out live next week, so we'll be holding it down. Dan Slant says crazy what his world's come to, man. Um, Dan says we must stand up against these degenerates. Almost as do you remember comic books when they used to sell these fake X-ray glasses? Yeah, it was a gimmick. Mods, can you guys give me a quick look at the avatars here, please? Omar says, do you remember? Oh, you already read that. Omar says, well, I think that a lot of the problems that people have in the cities, they have mental problems and a lack of money and lack of two parents. Again, this is all stuff I brought up as well, Omar. And I was bringing this up with my debate with my friend earlier. I was like, there's a mental health problem within the black community that remains unaddressed because in a lot of ethnic minorities, particularly ones of lower class, they tend to see mental health as a as a failure of willpower. And they don't want to acknowledge that just just like you have mental health, I mean, just like you have medical health that can fail you, you have mental health that can fail you. But and my mother's friend before he passed away, he worked in the mental health field because he used to help people. Well, he first worked in the capacity of people who filed um, disability with Social Security. But he worked on both ends. At one time, he worked for Social Security to try to disqualify as many claimants. Then he later worked on the other half on behalf of the uh, interest group to try to get more people to be able to qualify for Social Security disability. So he worked on both ends. And he said a long time ago that he said most of the black people in Baltimore have mental health issues. And at the time, I thought that was an exaggeration, but I didn't finish my college degree at the time, so I was skeptical of him. But he was right. Like, but I think he said I thought it was extreme at the time because I think he said like 90 or 95% of black people in Baltimore have mental health issues. I was like, it can't be that high. He was like, man, yes it is. And I'm looking back at it now, like this is like 20, maybe 24 years later. And I'm like, shit, he's right. He is right. He's exactly right. So that's another causal factor, mental health, that contributes to violent crime. Lack of two parents, again, yes, that la- traditional values, people like to poo poo on family values because they see it as just a conservative thing. But family values are values for the fact that they've helped maintain a coherent society throughout the 20th century. And it became easy to poo poo on family values back in the 90s and 2000s. But we realized a lot of these so called family values were good. Having a two-parent household is a social economic advantage. On top of that, like I said, it's not just bad when a kid doesn't have only has one parent, but it's also bad when a whole community lacks fathers. These fatherless communities lead to cultures where hypermasculinity is bred. And this is, like I said, when you talk about toxic masculinity or hypermasculinity, this is the actual root causes of it. It's not just men being men, like the way feminists would have you believe. Hypermasculinity is bred out of a culture where there's a fatherless community, and these young men go on to take exaggerated um, masculine behavior to its extreme as a rejection of the women in their lives because there's no men to correct them, and so they often engage in gang culture and often in like you know activity that might lead to like terrorism and war. So this is the root origins of the concept of hypermasculinity. Like I said, it's not just bad. It's not necessarily bad if someone only has one parent, although it does leave them at a social economic disadvantage to a person coming from a two parent and not just a two parent household, but a two parent household where the parents are married. Like, yes, people like, and people, may not believe me, but like, look, people people who come from two parent households come from households where the parents are married usually have a slightly higher IQ than those who don't by 1 or 2 points at least. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up. Almost as wild. It really is funny. What the hell, Area 51? But yeah. Um. But what was I saying? So there's a lot of causations to go into that. I can't. Well, all right, guys, give me 1 second. Agatha is telling me to check my messages. Yep. Yep. So I knew you. I knew Dan was a troll. You can keep trying each time, whatever the fuck you really are, but get off my fucking live. Thank you, Agatha. I I couldn't see it because it's so small on my screen, but I knew it was some bullshit with that guy. Guys, I need my mod's help on this to check when you. Thank you, Agatha, for being on point with that. Because it's like I keep asking, like my mod, like I can't catch all these things, guys. I need my mods to be my eyes for me for that. So thank you, Agatha, a lot. Like you, I, you guys gotta check the avatars because these people are on some bullshit. This is what I'm talking about. This is the reason why I haven't been live streaming every day like I used to because I'm getting really fed up with these trolls, and I'm fed up that YouTube doesn't allow us to permanently block these assholes anymore. For my mods, please, guys. Every time you see someone coming in with a face avatar, I want you to like check to see if this person is trying to pretend to be me because I'm not gonna have someone doing something pretend looking like me because they could do anything out of pocket here on YouTube or on Google or online in general and then use my face. So please, thanks Agatha, because it's like this is the second time it's happened already today. Someone says, "Yeah, I'm about to go," but the truth is really, it does screw up a kid when you don't have the father and mother. Yeah, that's true. It 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 does it, it is a factor in the violence that we see. I'm about to go myself. Like I said, I'm getting fed up. Like tired of these trolls, and I'm tired of the fact that YouTube doesn't give us the tools to permanently block these people. We're like really getting low key fed up with that. And then people can see him trolling, and no one's telling me, "Hey, this guy's using my face," and everyone can see his avatar. It's kind of annoying me. So I'm about to go. Um, as soon as I find this person's IP address, I'm gonna fuck them up. I mean, not physically. I wouldn't admit that on here anyway, on camera. Um, Basically, I'm just gonna do some really. He's not gonna have a good time once I catch his IP address. He said I came on late, so didn't see it. No, you didn't see the. Well, you caught him. I'm saying you didn't see the first person who came on using my likeness. And I was telling Moonlit Fern, like, next time you see someone using an avatar that has my face, like, either let me know or just ban them, because these people are on some really sketchy stuff. So, um, see, that's what I'm talking about. This faggot. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is why I'm about to get off. Is it's annoying me, and it's going. I'm going to end up. I'm trying not to crash out because he's lucky I don't have my friend on here who does cybersecurity right now. But I'm gonna put him on it. Soon as I see him on it, yeah. But I don't know what happened to Moonlit. Like, he's gone. And I don't know why YouTube won't let me permanently block these people. And for my verticals, I can't pull up people's profiles, because if I could pull up a person's profile, then I could actually find out where they're making their stuff from. But he's gonna just keep doing it. He's already. This isn't the first day he's done it. He's been doing this for several days. So I'm gonna call it quits. It's already late, and it's about to be 12. So once it gets 12, it's gonna be worse. Like, literally, it's almost like as bad as the movie Gremlins. As soon as it's like midnight, these these retards come out. I don't have the tools to handle it right now. So I'm gonna go, but I need like people who are like technically savvy that can help me root this guy out. But until then, I'm out. If anyone has any more comments, they want to get more into the original topic, which was inner city crime, the causes of it, the effects of it, how it manifests, um, the specific examples of it here in Baltimore, stuff like that, you can leave a comment, and I'll check it out. Um, like I said, the uptick in trolling has left me kind of displeased with doing live streams. I may switch to doing just more pre-recorded videos in the future if this continues, because I don't feel like dealing with the constant harassment until YouTube reinstates the ability to permanently block people's accounts. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to stop doing that. Um, they think it's an overreaction. I don't. Sorry guys, I'm out. Have a good day. Good night. Thanks Agatha again for your help. Appreciate it. Take care.